Oh, I'm muted. You guys, one day I'm going to get on here and figure this out like the first time. All right. So if you're on, say hello. Um, and if all is well, hello, Latia. So happy to have you here. I'm going to give just a second for everyone to get the notification that we're finally live and I'm not on mute. All right. If you're here, say hello in the chat, please. And if you can't find the chat, then oh well, do your best. I know that this app looks a little different on desktop, laptop, tablets, phones. And I've learned through troubleshooting that even your browser can change, right? Thank you, Megan. She says, I love your shirt. I get so many compliments when I wear this shirt. I can't even believe it. I have a Christmas dress that's red. I did not cut my hair braid. I mean, I did in July. I cut off about 6.5, 7 inches right at the end of July. But, or was it the first week of August? I think it was the first week of August. But when I blow dry my hair, it's like, psh. So yes, I have a Christmas dress that's red. And every time I wear it, everyone in my congregation is like, Robyn, you look like a super celebrity person or whatever. I just am like, I should just wear red all the time. You guys are so nice. You guys are so nice. Giving me all these compliments this morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am scooping it up and I'm believing it. Maybe one day I'll wear red in a family photo. I think I just have a belief that red stands out so hard and I want our photos to be like a little bit more muted. One day. You guys, we're talking about gifts of the masculine today. And I will tell you that my brain has flip-flopped about 7 million times on, do I really go into the male and talk about the divine masculine? And what I mean by that is I'm Robyn Whitworth, by the way. People that are here that maybe don't know me, invite all your friends, guys. Copy this link and send this to your friends and say, get over here. This is the best place you could be on a Friday morning. Love your friends. Tell them where the best place to be is, please. So I'm like, every human being in the energetic world has feminine and masculine. Okay, we have these opposing forces to attempt to balance our lives. And the female, biologically, spiritually, energetically, which I call the divine feminine, it's that divine nature inside of us that are female that says these gifts will serve you so well. And Missy went over that last week. Go find it in the recordings. It's fantabulous. I'm Shakespeare. I make my own words. And then there is the divine masculine, where yes, women have masculine, but a male will harness certain masculine traits and gifts that will serve them so well if they hone them, know them, discover them, work with them. So I was like, do I go into the divine, like masculine and talking about men, or do I actually talk about the gifts of the masculine that women do have that will bless us? I've known a lot of people that feel suffering in their lives because they lean so far into their feminine gifts, which is great, but then they feel like there's this edge of chaos in their lives, like they're on the edge of disaster. They feel like they're unsafe if they truly like stay there. And so then they'll do drastic masculine measures. They'll like stop doing stuff femininely and they explode and they, and I've been like, what is that about? And I've learned for myself that I swung into the masculine a lot based on my childhood of, you take care of yourself, you're not a burden. If you take care of yourself, you're less of a problem to society if you're responsible and all the things. So we're going to talk a little bit. So as I sat with this, I thought, that's what I really want to talk about, because that's what changed my life. And when you come into this space, it's like, tell me about this space. Who leads this? Guys, I'm here. I created this whole movement, and I thought, I better tell my story. So that's what I'm leaning into. If you came here to learn about men, you can go to your local library probably and go to the energy section, which is usually the small numbers, like 100, and go read about divine gifts of the masculine. Or you can go do a YouTube search. That's what I did. I was like, is there a lot of information about this? Yes, there is. You can do a Google search, okay? But there was a whole lot of information about the divine feminine and leaning into your feminine and all that stuff, which is fabulous and useful, and you get to learn that. But there wasn't a ton about the woman and how she uses the masculine and the feminine in a dance. And I say that because a lot of people think there's going to be a balance. There's going to be this balance. And there's just not. A balance is really hard. Free-flowing velocity is easier. Let's go into physics for just a second. And I am not a physics person. I had to like read this concept, but I was like, we have oppositional things. What's that about? And I was like, oh, they're talking about how like two magnets, if you try to put the opposing or the same ends together, they oppose, right? But if you put the right density of a thing in between the two magnets, you can actually hold an object in midair because of the opposing forces. Something can sit there and it doesn't move until you change it. You can also like take two magnets that have opposing forces and like put it on the table, and there's like a little marble. And if you have it exactly the right space behind it and you go like this, it will move. The marble will just move. However speed you set it, those opposing forces will cause something to move at a consistent space. And the movement is so much easier energetically than sitting here balancing the thing in midair, keeping it from moving, which it's been my experience, friends, that when we try to have balance, the fallacy is that you're actually holding still. If you were to bring a microscope really close to that marble between the two magnets, is it actually holding still? Somebody write it in the comments. Somebody tell me that you guys are getting this. Is something that's balanced holding still? Like for real? It's okay if it's an obvious answer. Give it to me, ladies. Man, is there that long of a delay? Are y'all just up walking around? Come back to me. Come back to me and write in the chat. It's so important that we are on this together and understanding, because yay, people are chatting, people are typing. Lee Circle's telling me someone. Heather says no. It's moving. Energy's always moving. Cherie says ballerinas on toe shoes are not balanced. They're moving so slowly between the toes. Oh my gosh, ballerinas. How much energy does it take to stand there on their toes versus leaping and dancing? It's a lot of energy. They are sweating bullets when they're holding like this. You guys are great. So even when the opposing forces have us holding still, there is still movement, right? There is still movement. There's an energetic exchange happening. I want to point this out really quick. A lot of high achieving women judge rest because they say it's unproductive. Ladies, that is a fallacy. Some of the most important work is going on when you are resting. Like really resting. When those opposing forces come, sometimes we're compelled to lay down because of germs, stress. Opposing forces force us to lay down. But that's because there's work required and we have not been respecting the rest that we need to go and do that kind of work. And high achieving women often have elevated stress levels. They are not valuing rest because they think nothing's going on. So please put it into your brains today that when I lay down and rest, I am being productive. If you're letting your cells start to shift at a different vibe, if you're letting your body fight an illness and create all the white blood cells that are necessary for that, if you are sifting through decisions, like whatever it is, if you're sleeping at night, there is a small window of time where the brain takes the cell matter of the brain and will go through a process of detoxifying the cells, and it takes hours to do so. So if you are not getting that deep sleep, your brain actually won't do it. Brain fog and slow memory, like different stuff starts to happen to you if you are not sleeping deep enough. This is so important. So when we're talking about the gifts of the masculine and the feminine, these are opposing forces that want to create rest or velocity. They want to. They want to create both. And based on what we decide with our agency is what we're going to get. But they're there for us. It's there for us to use. So as women, if you watched Missy's class last week, she talked about the feminine, about jumping into our feelings, and that the feelings are the way. So you feel all the things, you let the emotions flow, the emotions get to be your messengers and your directives. And because you are a female, this is what you're supposed to do. So when you're like, oh, I can't tell my husband my feelings, ladies, this is what you're here to do. You are here to feel the feelings and then let your husband know what they are. You literally are the temperature gauge of your home. You are the compass director. That is your role in a partnership with a male. That is your role in the home. Don't be afraid to use it. Like, that's really what you got to do, right? When you are in your feminine gifts, you are present with it. You're being your best being that you can. There's flow. But as I described a few minutes ago, I've seen people go in there and that's all they do. They don't ever revisit the masculine. So if we're talking about the laws of energy, which God works with, it's like they've dropped one of the magnets. What happens to the marble? It drops as well. It feels completely unsteady. Its integrity starts to waver. You don't know, lack of clarity. Any of this coming up for you, ladies? I don't know what to do. I have self-trust issues. I want to abdicate my power to my husband because what if my decision isn't happy for everybody? I'm taking responsibility for everybody's experience. You have dropped the ball. And it happens to all of us. In the scriptures, God uses the word repent for picking up the other piece again and going again and trying again. He says do it all the time. That gives us a clue that he knew we would drop it all the time. If he has to tell us, you're going to repent a lot. This is an experience you're going to do a lot. Oh, okay, got you. No more shame, no more judgment. When I've dropped the ball, I just need to pick it up again. And in the EMX program, we help you move through that really fast. So let's talk about what the masculine looks like. If the feminine is the feelings and the being and the emotion and all of the things that tend to feel super energetic and maybe unseen, then what's the masculine? The masculine asks us what to do. The feminine is like magic that's just out here. It's the little force in between. And we go, well, what do we do with that? Somebody had a moment of inspiration and magic and they said, what if we could take energetic signals through the power of light, contain it into cells, and bounce it off of all of the energy in space using a point in time to direct to another point in time, and thereby we created cellular communication. That was the masculine. The feminine part of that was the creativity, the being, the allowing the message. The masculine said, form it into a cell. Furthermore, put it into a device. And we started having cellular communication between little cells. It's a miracle in my mind. It's a miracle that you can send signals of lights and ones and zeros, and it translates to photos and words. And now we have phones in our hands that are these little cellular communication devices. That's the masculine. The feminine said, whoa, I have this thought, this amazing thing. Now what do I do? Okay. It contains the magic for us into something that then we enjoy. This whole app, your phone, your computer, is the masculine representation of a feminine idea. So the masculine is the iPhone calendar for you. You have all these beautiful ideas. I'm gonna do my goals, and I'm gonna help my son go to football, and my daughter's gonna be the best ballerina ever, and I'm hosting this fun art night with all my friends. And you might have identified that you're kind of a flake if you haven't engaged in the masculine power of the iPhone calendar. It's not that you're a flake. It's that you get to pull in a little bit of masculine to help you. It's the structure. Now, when you look at the yin and the yang symbol, and as Missy explained last week, the black side is the feminine side, and then there's a little dot of white. That's our little masculine. As women, we've definitely functioned the very best when the majority of our energy is the feminine. But there's that little dot of masculine that is necessary, ladies. It is so necessary. Allow it, learn it, it's okay. So it's the electrical wires in your house. Someone had the idea of light and electricity, but the light fills the room with the wire this big. It's amazing how we have so much symbolism here. The masculine is the walls. It's the floor. It's the water bottle. Like all this stuff that you see that is the physical is the little masculine. It's such a small piece from what was conceived in the feminine energy through thought and emotion. Something was conceived in unseen matter, and then someone brought it into the masculine and said, well, what about plastic injection molding? I bet we could create all sorts of things by injecting plastic into these molds, and it would harden, and then we'd have all these products, all these cool shaped things because of plastic injection molding that someone thought about. Everything is conceived in the universe before it's conceived in the masculine. The most powerful business owners a lot of times are male, because they take an idea and they run with it to the masculine a lot faster than women. Women sit and think of all the scenarios, and we think about all the possibilities. We think about so many things, and as rightly so. We were designed to take care of a lot of things at once. Our brain can do that. For a man, that's typically very hard. They're like, just give me the flow chart and I will do one step at a time. They're very good at that. They're very good at that. Let them do that for you, ladies, by the way. But the little masculine that we might need is like the calendar, the little whiteboard on the wall that just reminds us of what's going on in the week. That's not weakness or anything. The masculine energy for us helps, you can write this down. It is designed to carry you, to support you, to provide something for you. And as a woman, we guide what that is. Oh, I would love support in this way. Can I ask my masculine partner to help me? He's got, you guys, he has major skills in this. Like, husband, can I borrow your brain on this issue that I'm having? And he would love to do that. Men love to fix. Okay. And so just remember that even in the female world, if you don't have your partner readily available, then you use the little bit that you have, and I promise that it's enough. It's perfect. It's designed perfectly. We say, oh, what do I think will help me here? And as women, a lot of times we ask the collective, what have you used that worked really good there? And we get a million responses. Sometimes that stresses us out. And sometimes we actually just haven't lived in our self-trust for a long time. We haven't used the masculine for us for a long time. We've abdicated that to a partner sometimes. We've even abdicated it to God as women. As that male counterpart, we've abdicated our choices to God. We say things like, I just want to do what God wants me to do. How does agency work then? Explain that to me. Well, God, just tell me, you just fix it. Guys, we have an element within us of the masculine to make decisions that support ourselves, to put the appointment on the calendar so that we remember, to write it on a whiteboard so that our support systems are aware of what we want. It's great to know what you want all day and journal in the feminine and just sit there, but if you don't communicate it, it can't come into reality. We have to communicate. We have to use that little bit of the masculine that guides the feminine into creation of whatever the masculine substance is. So remember that anything that you're seeking, anything all humanity is seeking, is a feeling. It's that feminine part of them. Even men, when they go work really hard on a project, at the end of it, they want to be celebrated and recognized. Like, they want to have a feeling. That's why they do it. They just have a lot less of those than women. It's just proven, you guys. We have a lot of feelings that we want to have. Everything we strive to do is because we're seeking a feeling. And the feminine gifts help us become aware of the feelings and the problem that gets to be solved. And then the masculine goes to work to provide and support and create provision to give way so you can have that feeling. So choosing the feeling, this is what I'd like, this is how I'm going to harness it. This is what I want. Identify all the feelings, but then you get to communicate and get resourceful, whether that's with your male counterpart or yourself in your masculine. Say, can I be resourceful here? What do I know about this? How can I make a decision about this? So when you sit and do your family's budget, if you're the person in charge of money, the money flow is feminine, but the budget gives us a guide. And all that beautiful energy now has spots that will serve other beautiful energy. But when it's just all like this, the chances of the velocity going where you want it to go is really slim. A lot of people that are earning decent amounts of money and they have a stable job, they're struggling financially. And it's usually because there isn't the container. Nobody's created in their family unit or whatever the container that helps guide that energy. So it's not that they need more or they'll just continue to struggle with the more. It's that little piece, and it's so little. It's that little spreadsheet where you just put in the numbers and then all of a sudden you know where everything is and you can feel more free. A budget is not restrictive, it's financial freedom because you don't have to think about it anymore. It's that little piece that helps you contain the massive flow that you're bringing in. It's no surprise that most of the structures that support flow of energy, and these are things like where does the flow of money go? Like this flow of energy, people exchanging energy for experiences, businesses, money-making establishments like gyms, banks, spas, daycare, the grocery store, the auto mechanic. They were created mostly by men, not always, but mostly, whose strongest like the people that run them are usually men because their strongest strengths lie in that masculine energy to provide and support. But it was a lot of times a woman's idea, a woman communicating her needs that said, this is a necessity. How come we don't have this? This would be a really great idea. That's why they say behind really powerful men is usually a really intuitive woman. Because together, they do so much. And even within ourselves, we can do amazing things that we really want to do, not to be exhausted and burned out, but to achieve our goals, things that we're really inspired to do, that the spirit is just pouring out into our hearts that we can do. We just need that little piece of structure. And it'll shift your own personal experience and your personal power and how you view the masculine energy in your life. If you're a married woman, like, you will start to see this. Now, I will tell you my experience and my story was I sat in the masculine a lot. I didn't grow up with a lot of feminine modeling. So I have what's called feminine wounding, where it was a problem if you had feelings. It was a problem. You had to hide it, suppress it, get over it, deal with it. These were phrases that I heard not just from my family, my community. Like, these were conversations I was overhearing at grandma's house, at the neighbors. Why can't they just deal with it? What's their problem? So I thought, oh, in my immaturity as a young person, this is so common. I said, oh, it is better to not be that way. So as I grew and as a normal human and as a woman, I felt a lot of things. But this programming said, just deal with it, suppress it. You're a problem if you communicate this. And so I grew into an adult that came into a relationship where when I was dating, I was like, he just helps me feel restful. He helps me feel supported. Like, I'm feeling the best I've ever felt in my life, but I didn't know then what I know now. But as we got married and I continued on this path of goal achieving and all this stuff, like, I started to feel resentful a lot that my husband wasn't supporting me in certain ways. Like, he should do this and this and this in this way. And that went on for a long time. Like, we had our happy times. We worked things out as best we could. But in the last 10 years, it's gotten even better as I'm like, oh, my mindset matters here. And then in the last 5 years, as I've learned about the feminine and the masculine, I'm like, oh. And I've communicated this with my husband and he's like, yes. He's always like, yes. When I talk to him about, I'm like, so if I share my feelings about this, we've had our bumps in the road. When I first started sharing my feelings, I was like, this is just how it is. This is how I feel. So you should do something about it. I wasn't actually taking responsibility. And he felt like I was just throwing stuff on his plate. And there's a whole class that Missy's done on this. I'm not going to try to be an expert, but I want to share with you that once I learned these things and started incorporating them into my marriage and into my business, instead of, and when I say my business, doesn't mean y'all have to have business. It means you can have personal goals. But instead of, I have to do it all and figure it out myself, it was, what do I want? What's the feeling that I'm looking for? If I were to just choose to have that feeling now, what would be in place? Guys, that is a powerful question to bring in your masculine that is yours, not the world and not your husband. If I say, what's the feeling I'm seeking? And if I can choose to have that right now, what's in place for me? And the masculine ideas that came from yourself will come to you. Man, if I felt amazing about where our money was going every month, just amazing. And you sit in that feeling and go, what's in place? What's in place for me to have this feelings, instability as much as possible? What is it? A budgeting program. You would probably be looking at an app. You'd probably have some type of budgeting program. That came to me a long time ago. If I were to feel better about our dinner situation, making dinner every night, meal planning, this stresses me out, I hate it, blah, blah, blah. What's the feeling that I want then? Ease, flow. If I could choose to have that, what's in place? Ask your kids what they would like. Involve the kids in the meal planning. Engage in picking up your grocery order. Like, certain ideas can come to you, and it might take time and practice. If you've been either just all masculine and I have to like download a chart and all these people know better than me and I'm going to make it happen. And I'm going to make everybody happy because I'm so awesome. And then you shame yourself. Like, there's this whole masculine space you could sit in. But when we sit in that feeling, let that be the 90%. What is the feeling that I want? Where's my gold paper? So I have a big goal right now, and it revolves around finances and growing this community and this mission. And some of that revolves around getting new clients, having more people come in our program. So I said, what are the feelings? And I typed them out. What are the emotions, the feelings that I will feel when this is my reality? And thereby, I typed out those feelings and how I would feel. And from all the science that we know about frequencies and energies, when I'm in that, the energy of receiving and love and excitement and fun, it is a higher vibration. And those things that are going to come to me are at that higher vibration. The reason they're not in my life yet is because I haven't vibrated at that same level for it to arrive. So I create these feelings, the feminine, and I go, oh yes, that's what I would feel. Yes. And as I sat in there, I said, what's in place? And I said, oh, I would have a budget that breaks down that 6-figure month, who I would be paying, what it would be. So guess what I created beforehand? A budget that shows that. The very budget that shows me that. How will that be? Probably. I now know that it's a probably, because I don't know the bridge of incidence. That's up to God. I use my agency and say, God, this is what I would love. This is how I'm going to serve your children. This is so amazing. And I sit in there and I feel it. And I let God worry about the bridge of incidence that will get this to be my reality. But it's my job to step into my masculine and create something that helps me get there. So if you have goals and you're like, I'm sitting in the feelings of it, the visual of it, great. Find something that you can actually create that will go with that scenario. And I will tell you that you will have discovered quantum leaping, where you get the masculine and the feminine together and you will leap from goal to goal to goal. Because the energetic is there and the masculine is there. And anytime you have a goal, you sit in that energy of the feminine and let it just be big. Let it be 90%. And then ask yourself, what would be in place if that was true for me? If that's how I acted, if that's what I believed, if that was the vacation we were going on, what would be in place? And you'll get an idea, and I'm going to challenge each and every one of you to act on that idea. Do the first step, whatever it is. I couldn't do all the things with this budget, but I could create the budget, right? That's you stepping into that 10% masculine that says, I had an idea, and I actually had an idea of what to do in the physical to guide this feminine energy, and do that. That's your first step. If we have 2 pillars, A to B, and the bridge of incidence gets us, this is where I am, this is where I want to be, this is the feeling I want to have. God's in charge of this. We can't be like, but how? How did you do it? It's going to be, I knew the first step because I took it. God will create the rest, I promise. I can promise that. But you get to use your little 10% to create the little leaps and shorten this space. That's quantum leaping, when we shorten the space of time something takes. So if you feel like your goals are taking a long time, or you're taking, like, it's hard for me to achieve my goals because it's going to take so many resources, then collapse that with this knowledge. To me, the gift of the masculine is bringing my resourcefulness and creating something to start the bridge of incidence. And it works every time. I let God in his provision and support create the other, however else has to happen for this to orchestrate for me, right? And then in my physical, in my life, it's the same. I tell my husband, like, oh, I would really love to feel this way in the bedroom, in our home, on our date night, with the kids parenting or some discipline issues. I would love to feel this. I would love to borrow your brain on this issue and pull in his support. If we're going to go on a vacation next year, help me with deciding the budget. What do you think we can do for that? And use that male counterpart, right? He is going to be a big piece of the how for you in life, but we don't throw that on them. When we express our feelings and fall open to what's happening, they always come to our aid. But how we do that, man, that's skills. And that's where Missy Reber is the queen. She is so good at teaching that, and she teaches it in the Elevated Mother Experience so beautifully. Absolutely fantastic. But for me to move from the masculine is just, I was creating the how all the time. And then moving to the feminine and going, oh, I have this piece, this little piece. Changed everything. Changed everything. So, Megan says, I realized during my 14 years of marriage, I've swung to the extreme from feminine and masculine energy, just going back and forth, swinging so far one way and then just as far the other way. I feel all over the place, burned out, frustrated, as though I was 2 different people. Yes, I have felt that too, even broken. As I'm seeing the beauty with them working together, that the masculine supports the flow of the feminine. Both are needed to assist us in life, absolutely. And I believe this takes practice. It's not something that's an exact science. There's trauma where we move to survival mode. And a lot of times that survival mode, ladies, is that masculine, where I'm supporting myself and everyone around me. And I just have to, close up. And sometimes we sit there for a long time and it becomes our pattern. And our brain creates these trauma cycles around it. And that's where our team member Cherie comes in for you. She goes and has an incredible spiritual gift to see those trauma cycles and help you shift them. It's incredible what she's been able to do with our clients. Absolutely incredible. And so when I've been able to create the structure of how you can achieve things and shift things in your life. And we have these team members that come in, and that's been me leaning into the feminine of like, this is what I would love to feel. What would be in place? And my brain said, you have team members. You can't know it all and do it all. Oh, they're going to do parts of it too. Because what did I want to feel? Supported, like we could do anything, high capacity, serving so many people. How is that going to happen? There will be a team in place. And I allowed God to allow that inspiration of who and what that would be. But I had to trust that, and that takes practice. Anyone that's been through our Elevated Mother experience knows that that self-trust piece gets to be honed and made aware of so that you can live mostly in your feminine and harness that little piece of the masculine that gives that guidance and that little container so that the ball can keep being up and about and alive. Okay? Stacy says the masculine is taking the first step to the bridge of incidents and letting go and allowing God to build the rest. Yes. I get to choose to be open to how it all shows up. That's the feminine. Being open to how it shows up. The masculine wants to say, no, it has to look this way. The feminine says, no, I will be open to how it shows up. Yes. I hope this was helpful. We're going to go into, yes, Stacy, share how I want to feel and using my man's masculine energy is empowering. Oh, yes. It is so empowering. It is so empowering, you guys. Love it, Stacy. I'm going to go into our client only group and we're going to coach on this. We're going to talk about some of these structures and what people are thinking, the questions that they have, and do that. Megan, so good. We're always processing, you guys. Even us on the team, we're always processing what we're learning because we're always moving. Different layers show up. All right. Have an amazing day. If this call was amazing, share it with a friend, journal on it, give us some feedback. Have an amazing day.